Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're getting into something probably very familiar if you've learned English or really any language. That feeling when native speakers just talk, well, incredibly fast. We've got some fascinating material shared by a listener, and we're going to follow one person's journey, Lily's journey, navigating that blur of speed, slang, and rhythm right in New York City.
It's a story that really resonates, I think.
Totally. Maybe you know that feeling yourself. You've put in the hours, you know the grammar, you can read, maybe follow slower, clearer English. But then, boom, you're in a real-world chat.
Yeah.
And the words are just flying, merging together, and the English you studied feels, I don't know, miles away from what you're hearing.
Exactly. The sources call it hitting a cold wind.
Yeah, that's a great description. You feel prepared, but not for the pace, the actual sound of it all. Lily, in these sources, felt it the second she arrived. You know, the airport guard, a taxi driver's joke just whizzing past.
Right. And then that classic coffee shop confusion for here or to go.
Yeah. Exactly. Simple words, but the speed makes them bewildering.
And it's this sense of falling into what feels like, as she put it, a completely different language. It's such a common experience.
So why is that? The sources suggest it wasn't really about her knowing the words, right?
Precisely. It wasn't a lack of vocabulary or basic grammar. It was the processing speed needed for that rapid speech, the natural rhythm, those clipped words like, what you doing, instead of what are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
And all the informal stuff, the slang, gotta catch the L, or something being kind of sketchy. It's absorbing all that in real time. That's the huge hurdle.
So our mission in this deep dive, really following Lily's path here, is to unpack that initial shock, see exactly how she faced it, and pull out the strategies she used.
Yeah, and maybe more importantly, the mindset shifts she made.
Yeah.
We want to understand why certain things worked for her.
Right. Think of it as a shortcut, maybe. A way to see the practical steps to not just survive fast English, but actually get comfortable with it.
Absolutely. It's about keeping up, feeling like you're part of the conversation.
And Lily's story, as laid out here, is packed with these specific, really vivid moments. Some are funny, like confusing fire tacos or imagining flying earrings.
Yeah, the literal interpretations.
And some are pretty intense, like the panic of an unexpected phone call or just trying to understand subway announcement.
Oh, the subway. A classic trial by fire.
But it also shows the breakthroughs, you know, finally getting the jokes, asking questions without feeling totally embarrassed, telling her own story and getting the laughs. And spoiler alert, landing a job because of her approach. So let's unpack how she got there.
Let's do it.
Okay, so we start with Lily feeling really, really down. The sources describe her in her little Brooklyn room, just arrived, shock settling in, and she's whispering, I'll never understand them. That feels like a real low point.
It absolutely is that moment where the gap between your expectations, your studies, and the reality just feels enormous, deflating.
But this is where it shifts, right?
Yeah.
She remembers something her old English teacher said.
Yeah, that's the turning point. The advice was something like, understanding native speakers takes more than grammar. It takes listening, time, and patience. Don't just study English. Live it.
Live it. That sounds simple, but how did it actually change things for her?
Well, it reframed the problem. It wasn't just about knowing more rules or words. It was about experiencing the language, immersing herself. It shifted her from being a passive student, just, receiving information, to needing to be an active participant in the real world.
And that's when she grabs the notebook.
Exactly. Sits up, gets her notebook, and writes down that motto. I will understand fast English speakers. I will not give up.
Wow. That's powerful, just making that concrete decision.
It's huge. It's taking ownership. It's saying, okay, this is hard, but I'm committing to figuring it out. It moves her from feeling helpless to feeling determined. And that's where her actual, practical, real-world plan starts to form.
And importantly, this plan wasn't about going back to a classroom, was it? It was about training her ears and brain differently.
Right. Step by step, out in the wild, so to speak. She started small, with podcasts. First, slower ones designed for learners, then gradually moving to faster native level stuff.
And just listening constantly.
Pretty much. While brushing her teeth, cooking, on the subway, making it a consistent part of her day. Not just background noise, though listening actively with purpose, trying to catch the flow.
She also did shadowing, which sounds intense, repeating sentences right after hearing them.
And the sources say it felt really weird and clumsy at first, like her mouth couldn't keep up.
I can imagine.
But shadowing is fascinating because it's physical. It builds muscle memory for the sounds, the rhythm, the intonation of fast English. You're not just hearing it, you're training your body to produce it, which helps internalize it much faster.
Okay, that makes sense. And then she started forcing herself into small conversations, like with the barista or people walking dogs.
Yeah, dipping her toe into real-time interaction. And the focus there wasn't on perfect sentences, but on listening to the music. You know, how voices rise and fall, the pauses, the stressed words, all those things that carry meaning beyond just the dictionary definitions.
Plus that no subtitles rule, watching videos without them, even if she only understood half. Ouch.
It's tough, but it's like taking the training wheels off. It forces your brain to rely entirely on sound to build that direct pathway between hearing English and understanding it without relying on reading the words. It's critical training for speed.
And did it work? Did she notice a difference quickly?
The sources say yes, remarkably quickly. After about a month of this consistent, deliberate practice, she felt things changing. There's an anecdote about giving directions without even really thinking about it.
Wow.
And having a pretty normal 30-minute chat with a roommate's friend and actually following along without feeling totally lost.
That's huge progress.
It really is. And it points to that key insight the sources highlight. She wasn't translating anymore. She was just understanding.
Ah, the holy grail for language learners.
Exactly. Her brain was starting to process English directly, not routing it through her native language first. That's the bottleneck, the translation step. Removing it is what allows for understanding at speed. Her conclusion was spot on. Understanding fast English speakers wasn't magic. It was training. It was listening with purpose.
Okay, so individual practice is paying off, but then comes the next level boss fight, group conversations. The sources describe this dinner party in Chapter 2.
Right, the contrast between her controlled practice and suddenly being thrown into a group of native speakers, all talking fast, laughing, interrupting each other.
Yeah, Ava, her roommate, even warns her, my friends talk fast, like really fast.
And groups are way harder. You've got multiple sound sources, people talking over each other, different accents, speeds, inside jokes.
The sources mention specific examples like James talking like his mouth was chasing a deadline, Megan using slang like totally wiped, or calling someone such a tool.
And Paul's dry jokes, Rachel maybe being sarcastic. It's not just words, it's personalities, styles, shared histories. The description of words bouncing around like a pinball machine is pretty accurate.
So how did Lily handle it? Initially, just smiling and nodding.
Pretty much. That feeling of being overwhelmed starts creeping back in. But then she activates her strategy. Don't panic. Pick out keywords. Guess the context. Ask if needed.
That sounds practical. Does it work?
It's incredibly effective for managing overload. You can't catch everything, so don't try. Focus on the key nouns, verbs, names. Use them like anchors to piece together the main idea.
Like trying to figure out James's story from just walk in, 5 hours, grab a bite.
Exactly. You might miss the details, but you get the gist. He went out for food. It took ages. He keeps you on the loop, lets you follow the basic narrative.
And she actually asked when she didn't understand, like with totally wiped.
She did. She gathered her courage and asked Megan, what does totally wiped mean? And then she connects it to her own feeling, like after walking 10 blocks in summer.
Making that connection must help solidify it.
Absolutely. And asking is so powerful. It shows engagement, not ignorance. And often, as happened here, people respond positively. Megan apparently said, you're doing great, though. That kind of encouragement is gold.
She also started noticing more than just words, right? Body language, tone.
Yes, that was a deeper level of observation. James using big hand gestures, Paul constantly checking with, you know what I mean. Megan's use of metaphors, Rachel maybe overusing literally. She realized everyone had their own communication style, their own music, as she put it.
The sources compare it to learning dance you learn by being on the dance floor, not by reading about it.
It's a perfect analogy. Social conversation is dynamic, interactive. It's about feeling the rhythm, responding, moving with the flow. You develop that intuition by participating.
And then she has this breakthrough moment where she tells her own story about getting lost on the subway.
Yeah. And she manages to time the punchline, something about hearing salsa music and make people laugh genuinely. That's a huge moment.
What did she take away from that?
Two big things, according to the sources. First, she wasn't translating anymore. She was just understanding. And second, English isn't just about words. It's about people. It's about listening with everything, eyes, ears, attention, tuning into the whole person, the whole interaction.
Okay, so she's navigating social dynamics. Next up, slang and idioms. The sources put her at a street fair, completely baffled by phrases like tacos or fire.
Huh. Yeah, something literally burning, or teenagers saying someone totally ghosted me.
It must feel like a secret code.
It really does. Idioms are tough because the meaning isn't built from the parts. On cloud nine, spill the tea, hit the books, pulling someone's leg. Logic doesn't help you there. It feels like, as the sources say, a secret club you don't have the password for.
There's that great example with the jewelry vendor and things flying off the shelves. Lily actually pictures earrings with wings.
It's hilarious, but so relatable. But the vendor's reaction is crucial. She's kind, says something like, English is weird. Even native speakers mess it up sometimes.
That must have been such a relief to hear.
Totally. It normalizes the struggle. It's not you, it's the language sometimes. It makes it okay to be confused, okay to ask.
And that seems to become her strategy. Turn confusion into learning. Asking people directly, can you explain that phrase? Using Google later for things like touch base.
And crucially, creating that weird English but useful list. Writing down, that's fire, awesome, ghosted, disappeared, spill the tea, gossip. Actively collecting these phrases.
It's very proactive.
It has to be. Idioms rarely reveal themselves. And she adds that note to herself, don't be afraid to ask, and laugh a lot. Using humor takes the sting out of the mistakes.
Like when she said on my laser instead of on my radar at work.
Exactly. People laughed, but the sources emphasize it was laughing with her. A shared moment of amusement, not laughing at her.
That's a big difference.
It really is. And it leads to another key realization. Fluent people don't avoid mistakes. They walk through them with a smile. Mistakes become part of the journey, maybe even moments of connection, not failures to be hidden.
And she felt that each idiom learned was like, what was it?
A new key, a new window, a new way to belong.
Nice. It's about more than just vocabulary. It's about cultural fluency, connection.
Precisely. It unlocks a deeper layer of understanding and belonging.
Okay, from idioms, the sources move into some really high-stakes territory. First, the New York City subway. Chapter 4 calls it the ultimate test.
Understandably, it's sensory overload. Rumbling trains, screeching brakes, crowds, everyone talking fast, and those garbled announcements.
Oh, yeah, stand clear of the closing doors, please. It's just noise. She felt like she needed subtitles for life.
It's pure auditory chaos, and you lose all the visual cues, lip reading, body language that can help in face-to-face conversations. It really pushes your listening skills.
So how did she cope down there?
Well, she had to adapt. She started by asking a stranger for help to confirm her direction. She learned to listen for the little bing sound that came before an announcement, giving her a split second to focus. And critically, she focused only on keywords. Next stop, transfer. Last stop. Filtering out the noise and just catching the essential bits. Remembering Ava's advice, just enough to stay in the game.
It's like developing a specific subway listening filter.
Exactly. Adaptive listening for a challenging environment. You don't need every word. You need enough to function.
And getting through it alone felt like a huge win, didn't it?
Immense. The sources describe it as terrifying, loud, fast, and amazing. That feeling of having conquered it. Her realization was powerful. Listening isn't just hearing. It's noticing, feeling, guessing, and trying again. It's an active struggle, not passive reception.
Then, maybe even scarier for many learners, the unexpected phone call, a job interview call out of the blue. Chapter 9.
Oh, yeah. The ultimate nightmare scenario for many. Unknown number, no prep time, no visuals, just your voice and theirs. Instant pressure.
The sources capture that physical panic type voice, stomach flipping.
Because it combines the audio-only challenge with the need to respond coherently, instantly. No time to think, translate, or look things up. It tests everything.
So what happened? Did she just hang up?
No. She gripped the counter. Her brain was scrambling. She spoke slowly. She even asked the interviewer, Janine, to repeat one question. But she stayed on the line. She persisted.
That took guts.
Absolutely. And then came the crucial question. What's something unique about you?
What did she say? Does she have a prepared answer?
No. And this is key. She didn't try to fake perfection. She was honest. She basically said, I am learning English fast. I make mistakes, but I ask questions. I do not give up when something is hard.
Wow. Putting it all out there. How did Janine react?
Amazingly well. According to the sources, Janine said something like, honestly, I love that answer. It shows drive and courage. That matters more than perfect English.
That's incredible. What a lesson.
It's huge. Sometimes authenticity, vulnerability, and demonstrating resilience are far more impressive than flawless grammar. Her struggle became her strength in that moment.
And this led to her next motto, maybe the most powerful one.
I think so. Don't wait until you're perfect. Answer anyway.
That's applicable to so much more than language learning.
Totally. It's about taking action despite imperfection.
So, armed with this new confidence in her strategies, she faces the final hurdle, the in-person job interview in Chapter 11. Still nervous, obviously.
Of course. High stakes. But now she has a toolkit. She speaks clearly. She knows it's okay to politely ask for repetition. Could you please repeat the question? Or ask for clarification. She's not afraid to manage the interaction.
And when things got faster or plans changed in the interview, she had a response ready. Right.
Yeah, she explained her approach. I listen carefully, I stay flexible, I ask questions, and I focus on solutions, not problems. Showing she's adaptable and proactive, not easily flustered by communication challenges. Mrs. Patel, the interviewer, was apparently impressed.
It sounds like all these difficult conversations, the subway, the phone call, the idioms they all built up to this moment.
Exactly. Each challenge overcome built resilience, skill, and confidence. She wasn't just passively listening anymore. She was actively communicating, problem-solving through language, even under pressure.
And she got the job. Chapter 12, the offer email arrives.
Yes, the payoff. And the celebration scene described at the cafe really shows the full transformation.
How so?
She's not the shy person on the sidelines anymore. She's right in the middle of the fast-paced conversation with Ava and friends, laughing, sharing her own stories, understanding the jokes, participating fully. People are telling her, "You speak really well."
She even gets some of the really specific stuff like sports terms, cooking, or inside jokes, trauma pay.
Right. She's not just understanding basic meaning. She's plugged into the cultural nuances, the rhythm, the humor. She's moved from basic comprehension to genuine participation and connection.
And her final journal entry really sums it up. Fast English no longer scares me. It's music, rhythm, and life.
What a shift. From a terrifying obstacle to something dynamic and engaging that she's a part of. It shows that persistence, the right strategies, and crucially, the right mindset can completely transform the experience.
So looking back at Lily's whole journey through these sources, it really boils down to a few key things, doesn't it? It wasn't some magic trick.
Not at all. It was consistent, deliberate practice.
Hmm.
Active listening, tuning in to rhythm, tone, body language, not just words. Focusing on keywords in context to get the gist.
And being brave enough to ask questions constantly.
Yes. And embracing the mistakes, even laughing at them, not letting the fear of imperfection paralyze her, pushing herself into those uncomfortable real-world situations.
Recognizing that understanding isn't about catching every single word, but about staying connected, staying in the conversation.
And that core mindset shift, courage, persistence, and that willingness to be a little vulnerable, to be honest about the struggle.
The analogies kept coming up too. English like learning to dance, like music, like jazz. You feel the rhythm, you join the flow.
Exactly. It's less about perfect execution of steps and more about participating in the energy of the moment.
It's a fantastic map, her story. From that initial cold wind to feeling the music.
Absolutely. It shows a path.
So for everyone listening, as we wrap up this deep dive, maybe think about this. Lily's journey was about language, but the principle feels wider. Where in your life might you be holding back because you don't feel perfect yet?
Could be a job application, joining a group, starting a project.
That feeling of I'm not ready. What might change if you adopted Lily's motto from that scary phone call? Don't wait until you're perfect. Answer anyway.
What could happen if you just stepped onto the dance floor, even if you stumble a bit? Where might that willingness to try, to be okay with imperfection, actually lead you?
Something to think about. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into navigating fast English through Lily's really inspiring story.